Greetings and salutations, friends. My name is, of course, Charles Q. Banks, and I'd like to welcome you back to my series of discussion videos in black and white. If you'd like for me to talk about a specific topic in black and white, then please leave that topic in the comments below. Today, I just wanted to talk about reference, maybe review, critique, a little bit of the new One Punch Man Season 2 episode that just premiered like 3 days ago, and my thoughts upon it. I want to just banter about that a little bit, give my 2 cents on the subject, because it is a very controversial subject right now, due to the fact that the staff, the actual management of the show, has been changed. The studio shifted from Madhouse to JC Staff. And as we all know, JC Staff, which is not a bad company by any means, not a bad studio, has cranked out a number of pretty good anime, if I do say so myself. I don't know why I would be saying so myself, but there you have it. JC Staff has done several things of note, and adding One Punch Man to the list is quite an interesting choice for them. One Punch Man was done flawlessly in the season 1 of it that was done by Madhouse. It's some of the best animation, some of the best fight choreography, which of course comes from the webcomic, but some of the best animation in any action show so far. Of course, Dragon Ball Z, the newest iterations, are in competition with it. But I think that One Punch Man, at least from my personal opinion, my own personal preferences, wins out because of its unique usage of animation techniques and drawing, different mediums, charcoal, and and hand-drawn art instead of just digital, and very limited use of CG and digital effects, which I love. And so now we have a JC Staff iteration. And the main thing, I think, these days that JC Staff is known for is Food Wars. And I've never watched an episode of Food Wars, but I've seen the commercials for it. And let me just say, it is not something I would recommend. It's basically just constant sexual innuendo, orgasmic talk about food and cooking in a very literal sense. And it's not an action show by any means. One could term it a battle show, but only in the realms of cooking. It's very over the top and very dramatic, and One Punch Man is also. JC Staff is also known for Toradora, which was a great romance. Rom-com, very dramatic, very serious at points, but very funny at others. One of the saddest rom-coms I remember seeing. Everyone else but the main characters end up sad and depressed and having to move on with their lives in a way that they did not expect, except for the main protagonists. But needless to say, most of JC Staff's recent contributions to anime that are actually worth mentioning are all like rom-coms and I don't know, a few fantasy. Like one of my favorites, actually, Shakugan No Shana, is a good oldie, a classic. I would recommend it to anyone who likes either magical girl or shonen battle shows and rom-com at the same time. It's all wrapped up in one. But and Bakuman, and now One Punch Man. So I because of things like Bakuman and Shakugan no Shana, I really believed that JC Staff would be a very good pick. Not the best pick. I think Madhouse should have kept their, a tight rein on this IP, because they did such a good job with it, and they made so much money. Like, I mean, seeing One Punch Man, a manga, new manga, being on, like, the shelves of American bookstores is incredible in terms of popularity. You know it has to be popular if it's being sold on these shelves. Of course, anime has been getting more and more popular by the minute, but Nevertheless, Madhouse did such a wonderful job, I didn't see any reason for them to hand it off to another studio. But that's studio politics. I don't really know why that happened, or how, but it has. So, what about the episode itself? Um, well, even before I say that, there is a trailer that was created and released, and I saw it on YouTube. And let me just say, it was not good. It was very cringy because it took many different moments from the actual episode that were probably the worst animated parts of the episode, having very little animation, being mostly character dialogue, a little bit of the battle. There's one battle mainly in the first episode, and none of it looked good. Dialogue was strangely edited in where it wasn't needed. It was a confusingly made, poorly made trailer, no matter how you look at it. And I've heard people trying to justify it one way or another, like, they wanted to actually make it so that it was a horrible trailer so people would have their expectations lowered for the episode. And when they saw the episode, then they would be blown out of their minds. It was so much better than the trailer, more than they expected. But that is a bad justification. No company wants to put out PR that is bad. It's the worst thing you can do for your business. If you want something to sell, you have to make good marketing for it. If it's bad marketing, more people will not see it. And I think many people did not watch the anime because one of the things about One Punch Man is that, sure, the story is actually pretty good for an action anime, but it is one of the most simplistic premises known to man. Hero Saitama has the power to one-punch any enemy into oblivion, and he is frustrated by this and depressed by this in a way, because he cannot have a fulfilling, satisfying, long drawn-out battle with evil to satisfy his sense of heroism. That is why he became a hero, was to get into fights with the enemy and to defeat them in mortal combat in a way that tested his skills, and he can't. And that's the entire show, basically. He makes friends, he makes enemies. There are all kinds of heroes and villains in this world with more power, maybe? Less power? Mostly less power. I think he's the typical overpowered shonen protagonist, but to a ridiculous degree right off the bat that is very meta-contextual to the anime industry itself, because so many protagonists are overpowered in these action shows. But Saitama is on purpose made overpowered at the beginning as part of the premise, which is very clever. But my point is, so that's an interesting little premise. There's not much to it when it comes down to the actual individual episodes. It's just, okay, what situation is it going to get in? How is it going to be funny? And what kind of an amazing animation style will be utilized in this episode? How crazy will the fights get in terms of animation? And that's why people watched One Punch Man. They didn't come looking for an amazing story, right? And they didn't leave with an amazing story either. It doesn't really exist in it. It's a good story. It's just fine. It's perfect for what it needs to be. But what the creators in Madhouse actually did with the IP of One Punch Man is they elevated the source material to such an extent that it has become an art form in and of itself. The animation is so good that it is its own entertainment. Whereas the original webcomic, as you can see in my previous video, if you look up Charles' review of One Punch Man, the manga and the anime, something to that effect. Just look up Charles Q. Banks' One Punch Man. You'll find it. The original webcomic was horribly drawn, I should say. It was a webcomic, not an anime. But it was horribly drawn, very simply drawn, probably done in MS Paint or the equivalent. But people enjoyed the character. People enjoyed what little story there was. And it was very over the top and dramatic. And it took off because of that. Like I said, the premise is very clever. It's very simple but very clever, but the anime elevated it beyond what it was in the webcomic to incredible heights of popularity and success. So now to see a trailer that backs off of the quality in animation is a huge, like, depressing factor to people who are major fans of the original One Punch Man animation by Madhouse. I know friends who are still going back and watching One Punch Man and actually getting their friends who never saw it to watch it. Normies, one might say, who are not anime fans are now watching One Punch Man as a way to get into anime, or just because One Punch Man is so awesome and over the top and crazy and well crafted in the first season. So now the second season comes out, and this crappy trailer shows up, and it's like, what? Oh no, So anyway, I held back my expectations. I didn't think it was going to be horrible because, once again, I had faith in JC Staff. I didn't think it was going to be amazing because I don't know how one could top Madhouse or even come close to the level of quality without retaining a lot of the original artists. The skill needed is baked into the individuals who created it. So, what is the actual episode like? It's basically like the trailer, honestly. It is a little bit, like I said, it is a little better than the trailer. They took all of the worst parts of the episode and put it into the trailer. And it starts right off. It doesn't really give you much of a backstory. It gives you like a couple sentences to set up that Saitama has this one punch power, and his assistant, Cyborg, is friends with him, wants him to teach him his powers, basically, and how he became so powerful, so that they can become S-ranking heroes at the top of the class. And that's not really the entire intro that you get. And then it just jumps right into a new storyline, and it's about this hero that he's the opposite of Saitama, in that he has no powers, but people think he has powers. And so all of these expectations are foisted upon him, and enemies cower in fear. Evil villains with superpowers cower in fear because of the name that this guy has gotten for being supposed as a superhero. And he's an S-ranking superhero, given an S rank by the Hero Association. Because whenever this man is around, Saitama comes and kills the enemy before they can get into a fight, and everyone blames, in a positive sense, the destruction of the evil, villainous monsters on this new hero man. And so, but he is a total coward, nervous wreck, and his heartbeat can be heard audibly by people around him when he is confronted by villains. And the episode is basically that a villain confronts him, and Genoa, the cyborg, and Saitama fight the villains, and the other guy runs away to his apartment and plays video games instead. But Saitama follows him. Spoilers, by the way, for the first episode. Saitama follows him and asks him, "Why did you run away? There's got to be something more going on, right? Why are you going to be a coward, man?" Like, Saitama is so straightforward, so he cuts to the heart of the matter, and they become friends, more or less. He learns that what I just said, that the hero is no hero at all, and he is going to help this guy train to become a hero, because that's how Saitama trained. And he's completely ignorant that this power came upon him without his permission, basically. He just wanted it, and he trained real hard, and suddenly he got it, whereas other people train real hard, and they don't become superheroes. So how's it going to work for this guy? But now they're friends, and that's the start of a new glorious friendship, I guess. And then two other characters, which may be villains, are also introduced. And there are tons of monsters, apparently, that are breaking out over the city, and the Heroes Association requires more heroes and more people to fight them. So they're even bringing people from the city's underworld and the villains to actually help fight the monsters that are swelling against these cities. And that's basically the entire episode. Not much more happened. There was a fight between Genoa and the enemy that was attacking the Hero Man. I can't remember his name, that's why I keep calling him the Hero Man. But Genoa fights another robot. And it's odd because the fight, well, if you think about it, what happened was definitely kind of epic, and it was a big battle with lots of explosions, lots of shinies going on, but it was so jerky. The animation had such a low frame rate. There were so few frames, especially compared to One Punch Man. If you've watched One Punch Man any time recently, the difference in animation quality, the frame rate, number of frames, the detail in character design will be so shocking. It will be a jarring experience for you. So I actually recommend you take some time off from watching the first season. Like, if you've watched the full first season, just wait maybe a couple months until the memory of it has gone out of your mind, and then watch the second season, and you won't be so jarred. Actually watched One Punch Man last month, and it's still fresh in my memory. So maybe it has to be more than a couple months. But that's not a good thing for me to be recommending, right? You might even want to skip the season because the animation is it's not bad, but it is on the level of a slice of life show. It's not on the level of even a shonen action show. The basic shonen action shows that are going on right now have much better action in them. I'm thinking of Black Clover specifically. That drops off and is inconsistent in its animation, but then when it comes to battles, some of them look great. In this, it just looked okay, and it definitely was inconsistent as well in all of the places that an anime is generally inconsistent. So my general impressions are disappointment, but not extreme. It's just I found myself feeling completely disinterested after the episode was over. I didn't think, oh boy, what's going to happen in the next episode? I was thinking, oh, I've seen that character design before. I wonder how they're going to factor into the story. Well, I'm going to go do something else now. Like usually when there's an anime of this caliber, I remember when One Punch Man first began. When the first couple episodes were out, I watched both of them back to back, and then I was looking for more. I was like, wait, I'm caught up already. What the heck? And I wanted more because it was so addicting. The show was addicting, and this is just not. There are many people who are, I think, responding to the backlash that is already going on to this show being staffed by JC staff, that they swung so far in the other direction. There are people on both sides, like, oh no, it's JC staff and it looks much worse. This is the worst show ever made. I'm so disappointed, blah, 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 in a negative sense. And then there are people who have swung to the opposite direction saying, no, you think it's just the animation that has to be great? The animation is still great. It's different, but it's still great. And the story is what I come for. It's going to get much better this time because the manga story is just kicking off by the time the first season ended. And it's a great show. I'm going to still be watching it. You guys are all haters. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. It isn't great. It isn't terrible. But it is a major downgrade in a lot of ways. They kept all of the original voice actors. I saw people complaining about the voice acting from Saitama, and I have no idea why. Maybe it's just because he's acting more forward, coming out of his shell a little bit towards this hero character. But I found nothing wrong with it. All of the voice acting is great, as far as I'm concerned. Like, the new hero character is appropriately dramatic and over the top. as well as all the villains. I am honestly interested in a couple of those villain characters. Like, what will they bring to the table? Will they actually be interesting? Will they be powerful enough to give Saitama a chance at fighting for more than 2 seconds? You know, these are things that were always interesting about the original season, and in any story where there's One Punch Man, that will be the draw for you. But there's so much less of a draw. So many other reasons are stripped away to continue watching it in the second season that were present in the first season. So those have been my thoughts, really. I don't really have a whole lot else to say. You don't have to hate on this. Like, you know, you can be disappointed, but just realize it could be much, much worse. So, yeah. It is very shocking that they would make such a change to such a beloved and popular series, but I digress. Thank you all for watching. Leave your comments about One Punch Man in the comments below. Just comments. And tell me what you thought of it and what your expectations are. I would recommend just read the manga for this season. I'm probably going to wait until the entire season is out and then watch all of it because, you know, I want to watch as many anime that are okay as possible. And if this anime adaptation becomes better, then I will be thrilled. But it's not there yet. And there's not a whole lot to say about one episode. But at the same time, the first season's episode 1 was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen in a action comedy anime. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and the next time I see you, I'll probably be shaving some of these wonderful frills upon my face. I saw myself in one of my old photos, and I was clean shaven, and I thought, dang, that looks good. So anyway, I don't know if anyone cares, but that's just an update. In case you're wondering when I have a naked head. So, till then, God bless, and thanks for watching. Farewell.